Hi everybody, and welcome to this special episode of Tea Talks with Monique Speaks. I'm so excited today because we're really going to be kicking off 2026, reflecting on 2025 together, and I have a special guest, Carolina Romero. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So today's episode, we're going to think a little bit about what this year's been like for us and planning ahead, setting intentions ahead for next year. But first, let me introduce you a little bit. Carolina Romero is one of the therapists on the Destination Therapy team. She's a licensed professional counselor. She works with individuals and couples. And I really feel like you're the perfect person to have this little chat about the year and think about the upcoming year, because you're just so good at reflecting and being reflective, and I'm really excited to dig into this with you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's that time of year, reflection is in the air. Everyone is either thinking about this or talking about it or both, so I'm excited to be here and get into it.
I think before we get into it, we need to set the tone, because let's set the tone, because I think New Year's resolutions are, for a lot of people, just an eye roll moment.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it's dumb. I don't have a New Year's resolution. This is stupid. But I think that we can take an approach to this that gives a lot of grace, that is reflective, that it's almost like a mindfulness practice of connecting with self and thinking about what you want next year to look like. It doesn't necessarily have to be this very specific goal with objectives and different bullet points,
Yeah, I think if anything, that was me a little bit for a while, of just being so anti-New Year's resolutions. And I think the journey is in figuring out that maybe it's not the stereotypical New Year's resolutions, but rather figuring out what works for me and how I want to go into the new year and what it means for me to self-reflect, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
Yeah.
So I'm making my way back towards New Year's resolutions type.
Or New Year's intentions.
New Year, reflections.
Yeah.
All the above.
Love it. Okay. So the format of today's conversation is going to be a little bit different. I have a list of prompts that we've worked on ahead of time, and we're just going to talk a little bit about them. And we're also going to have moments to pause where, if you watching this want to sit and reflect, get your journal, grab out the notes app in your phone, whatever works for you, you can go ahead and do that. And then that way people can get the most out of this. So the first part, we want to look back and reflect on 2025. It's been a year.
It's been a year.
It's been a long year.
Yeah.
So the first prompt we have here is, what is one moment, choice, or experience from 2025 that you're proud of?
I think first, I want to reflect on the first thing that comes up when I hear this question is immediate panic.
Yeah.
Of wait a second.
The whole year?
The whole year, I have done nothing. And so I really, which is not true in any way whatsoever.
For anyone.
And
it's not true for anyone.
Not true for, it's, all of us, right? So I bring this up to say, if hearing this question brings up any panic, it's just an invitation to slow down, right? Just because someone asks a question or you read a prompt, it doesn't mean that you have to have the answer immediately. That question might take a second, right? Yeah. We've got a whole year to reflect on, and we can take our time to look back and explore, different areas of our life and just reflect, truly reflect. So
a prompt to slow down.
Yeah, an invitation to slow down.
I think when I hear that question, that prompt, I think could probably trigger a lot of it needs to be momentous. It needs to be this really big thing that I achieved, this goal that I checked off. But actually something that you experienced that you're proud of, something that you did, a choice that you made, something you didn't do, that could be something really small. That could be something private. It doesn't have to be a public moment of success, right? Oh, I graduated. That's great. That's a very public thing that people know you did. But maybe it's I worked on this privately.
Yeah.
I made a choice to uphold this boundary. I chose not to engage in this behavior. So it could be something small. It could be about healing or persistence, resilience. It doesn't have to be a huge thing on the checklist.
Yeah, especially because I think so many of us hear or have these conversations. We hear these questions or have these conversations on reflecting and, you know, creating new goals for the new year or what have you. And we go towards some specific areas of our life, like work and, you know, physical health, right? Or physical habits. And yes, these areas of our life are really important. And there's also so many other areas of our life, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, you might hear this question and go straight towards, okay, what have I accomplished at work? Which is a very, again, valid question. And also, you're a whole human outside of these tiny tidbits of your life. And it's okay to, again, slow down and take the time and recognize who you are as a whole and as a human. And that might mean looking into these small moments and these small wins that amount to something bigger as well. So, are we answering the question?
You can if you'd like to.
I think for me, what comes to mind, man, there was a lot that happened this year, and there was a lot that was going on or that went on around the lives of the people that I love. Some positive, some less positive, and it gave me the opportunity to show up for people, which is really important for me. And it was tough at some points because life also gets in the way. But I think I'm pretty proud of the way that I showed up for people this year. I think I was very intentional in showing up for the people that I love and being the village, right? Being the village that we want to be for people, being the village that we want to have for ourselves. In order to have the village, we got to be the village. So that's what comes to mind.
That's beautiful.
For me.
Yeah. A lot of different things come up for me with this. I think one thing I will share is just reflecting on the letting go of control that I've done.
Yeah.
Particularly in motherhood.
I bet.
And for people that don't know me, I've talked about this part of my story, but when my daughter was 3 days old, she ended up in the NICU, and it was very scary, and it became a huge source of anxiety. And then kind of trying to adapt to her being out in the world with all the people and all the germs and all the things.
Right.
And now thinking, okay, now we're in daycare, we're doing activities, we're doing the things, we're going out. I've, trusted people to take care of her. It's been a lot of letting go of control and trust, and trusting my instinct and my gut of like people that can take care of this person that I love very much. And I think too, just like with you guys on my team, just like trusting y'all with different projects and hearing ideas and being open to collaboration. It's fun. And so I don't think I was a control freak, but I think that in motherhood, I felt like I was obligated to have this sense of like, okay, it's on me. Everything is on me. And actually, like, we're all just living in the world, and I'll do my best to take care of this person. And I have to trust that the choices I've made and, where we go, what we do, that like will be okay. And so that's been a little bit of my journey.
Yeah.
And, now we play in the dirt. It's great.
Yeah. Just a little playing in the dirt.
Dirt.
Living life.
Yeah,
sounds
living life.
liberating.
So, yeah, it is liberating. And, I think kids are really resilient. And she reminds me of that constantly. And I have to respect that and trust that and roll with it. So let's give people a chance to sit and reflect on that question. Okay, so now we're going to move into our second prompt, and we're going to talk about challenges. So the second prompt is what challenged you this year, And what did it teach you about yourself? I think that part is important because often we can focus on the challenges or things that we perceive as failures or we didn't quite come up to par, and we miss the fact that those challenges taught us something, right?
Yeah, I like that. And I think, oh gosh, okay, let me find the words for this. I think this is also just a very human part of even just a therapeutic process, right? I hear this a lot with clients. You come to therapy and you're doing the work, you're doing great work, and you're making great progress and things are going really great. And then you run into a setback or a challenge or a feeling that you hadn't experienced in a while. And people kind of hit the panic button of, what does this mean? I am spiraling, or I'm going back to zero, or my progress is completely erased because of my challenge. Right. And this is just a completely normal part of being a therapist and working with clients, is explaining and normalizing that, yes, you can do great progress and you can do great work, and you will also struggle, and this is, you're meant to struggle. This is part of the process.
Progress doesn't just look like this.
Yeah.
Right. I remember one of my teen clients years ago, I was like, progress looks like my hair texture. It's a little bit over here, a little bit over there. It's not this smooth, straight, easy, simple path with no uphill climbs. Like, there are gonna be turns along the way. And that's important.
And I think for me, that's part of, something I really value in my role as a therapist, is letting people know or helping them manage expectations of, you will struggle, right? There will be challenges. You will be challenged in life. It's not about never struggling again. It's about knowing how to struggle, being open to being challenged, right? What can you take away from a challenge? How can you support yourself through a difficult time or a difficult situation or an uncomfortable feeling, and come out the other side with knowledge or insight or self-compassion or, something else. Who knows?
Yeah.
You gotta find out.
And I think this is a good time, if you are somebody that experienced a lot of challenges, maybe this is a hard question for you, but let's then consider, what were the traits within me that got me through this? What was I able to do and to pull from to get me through it? And that resilience, right? So, we have to give ourselves a lot of grace along the journey. Whether it's reflecting on the past or thinking about the future too, as we reflect on this year.
I really like to carry this perspective of, if you walk away from an experience and it doesn't have the outcome that you were hoping for, but you walk away knowing a little bit more about yourself, or, learning a little bit more about how to handle a specific situation. If you walk away knowing something, knowing more about yourself or a situation, then, is that failure? And I would argue that it's not, right? If you walk away learning something, then you've accomplished something. And it's not about silver lining, challenges, right? It's about giving yourself compassion and grace and
building awareness.
And resilience, like you said, too.
One of the words I use a lot in therapy is noticing. Like, what did you notice, right? And so the focus isn't always about making that big change right away. It's like, let's start with what was actually happening. Let's notice what that process was. Oh, you have anger problems and you get into verbal arguments all the time. Okay, let's start with noticing what happens in your body when somebody says those things that trigger you. So I think using this as a chance, if you did have challenges, whether it be things that were out of your control or things that are perfectly within your control, and you got to work on that. Let's start with noticing what's been going on for you. And I think that's how we move towards deeper, meaningful change.
I think that's noticing and observing. These are great words. And I think if I had to answer that question, I would just kind of echo everything that we've just mentioned. I think I've just had a year of just being humbly reminded that I am a human and there are things that I that are still difficult for me and things that I have to continuously work on, even if I'm a therapist who has been to therapy. Like, there are still things that are hard for me that, you know, hadn't been hard for a while, but they kind of popped back up. And so I definitely had those moments this year where I said, oh no, I haven't been here in a while, and it certainly doesn't feel great, right? You know, this might not be like an immediate A to B, right? But eventually you land in a space of, okay, well, we've been here before. Let's slow it back down. What are we going to do about this, right? Where do we go from here?
And how did you get through it before? What other coping skills and strengths do you have to help you navigate it this time?
Yeah, right. Because I'm different now than I was, you know, months and years ago. So, and what a beautiful, I mean, it might not feel beautiful in the moment, but what a beautiful reminder that we're just silly human beings, you know, on this earth. It's just figuring things out, you know.
We're all trying to figure it out.
Just trying to figure it out, constantly changing. So that's my answer.
Thank you for sharing. Next, we're going to talk about something I love to discuss with everyone or anyone, is boundaries. So the next prompt is, what did you learn about your needs, boundaries, or values in 2025? I love this question because I think that reflections can be a little bit limited, you know, when we think about goals, but actually thinking about our needs, thinking about us, like digging a little bit deeper, or even reconsidering, like, what are our values? Maybe that's changed, right? Maybe because of the things we've been through, we want to make a little bit of a pivot and have firmer boundaries somewhere else. So I love this question because it's important. And I would encourage anyone who's going to answer this to think about patterns, right? Like moments of burnout, moments of joy, moments of conflict, and are there some needs there that are speaking to you? Are there some boundaries that need to be created and upheld by you in order for you to be well next year, in order for you to succeed, to thrive next year?
And I think that's a really healthy and productive place to start the conversation with yourself on what you want your 2026 to look like, or any year, right? Is, you know, we don't, you can have these goals for yourself and create a whole list of resolutions, but if there's no root to them, there's no sense of direction, right? So it's just a great idea to start with, okay, well, reflecting on this year, what didn't work, what didn't feel right, what needs went unmet, what value went, you know, unnoticed, what was missing, so that then you can turn the conversation into, okay, what can I do about it?
And giving yourself the flexibility that, my values can change.
Yeah, also that.
You know?
Also that.
A
year is a long time.
A lot has happened this year that it might sway your values. It might make you realize there's something that's really important to you that you didn't know before. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's very true.
So now we're going to make a transition into letting go and clearing space for the new year. So this next prompt is, what mindset, habit, or expectation feels ready to be released as you close out 2025?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
How do you tie in the boundaries and the values, kind of like we talked in the last prompt, to this question?
I think boundaries are interesting because some people think of boundaries as, I don't like it when you do this.
Yeah.
So if you do that again, you can't do that. And if you do it again, this is going to be a problem, right? And I think actually what a boundary means to me is maybe upholding that boundary with somebody is saying, hey, when you do this thing, here's how it impacts me. And I would really appreciate if you didn't keep doing However, if you do repeat this, if you
Right.
do keep doing it, because they probably
Because we
will,
can't control people,
because we
right.
can't control other people,
Uh-huh.
then here's the consequence. And part of that releasing or letting go of might be that you have to step back in certain ways, or that you have to do certain things to uphold that boundary that you might not like,
Yeah.
but that it's important to do. And so sometimes that release, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm dropping this friend, I'm letting go of all these people, bad vibes, but it may mean that you don't go to that event.
Yeah.
It may mean that you leave early because they're engaging in this behavior that you don't want to be around, therefore you leave. And so I think it's important to be open to letting go in different forms. Letting go does not mean cutting ties.
Yeah. And even slowing it way, more, I think of letting go of that expectation that the boundary is, stop doing this, and then the person will stop doing this.
We can't control
Right.
what anybody's going to do.
cannot.
And people don't like it when you have boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's not pretend that people love to be like, oh, thank you so much for sharing that this is your boundary.
Yeah.
I'm going to respect it now.
Right.
Because you're challenging the status quo. And sometimes that puts a target on your back. Sometimes that means that the people in your unit don't like that, right?
And so just letting go of that notion of, if I just express myself well enough, even expanding from boundaries, right? Just in relationships, if I let go of this idea that if I express myself well enough, surely, X, Y, and Z will happen. This person will change their behavior. The relationship will be different. Things will change, right? In an ideal world, yes, that would be the case. Yes, I mean, we are responsible for how we show up.
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot that's outside of our control, right? And so letting go could mean letting go of those expectations and control also.
Yeah.
hard.
And thinking about it, it's very hard. And thinking about it from like an internal perspective, some things we might need to let go of is like, maybe you're overcommitting too much. Maybe there's some people pleasing that you need to let go of. Perhaps there's negative self-talk that stems from your body image and your self-concept that you need to work on. Or unrealistic productivity standards. That's a huge one that I see with my clients.
Yeah.
And maybe just leaning more into self-compassion in a way that you haven't done before. So giving yourself permission to let go of things that maybe other people praise, other people reward.
Yeah.
It's okay to let go of some of that too. I'm not saying don't show up to work, but maybe you build on those boundaries to leave at a certain time or to only put in a certain amount of effort in order to preserve those other things that you value, those people you want to spend time with, or the way that you want to be able to show up.
Yeah, and I think the nuance that you're acknowledging also is that you can still have goals that touch on some of these subjects, as in like working hard or, working on your physical appearance, changing your habits, what have you. You can have these goals and still approach them in a way that is healthy and kind and self-compassionate and just requires a little bit more intentionality, because it's not what is taught to us necessarily firsthand.
And we may not have witnessed people in our lives take time to do this.
Also true. Yeah.
So the next question we're going to move into is, what emotional weight are you still carrying that you don't want to bring into 2026? I'm curious, when we think about this, I think about unaddressed emotional weight, baggage, trauma, and how that might interfere with new intentions. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm thinking, I've been having this conversation a lot with clients recently, actually, of how, the things that we have experienced are not our fault, right? For a lot of us, when we're talking about our traumatic experiences, right? We are not responsible for the trauma that we've experienced. It's not our fault. It doesn't fall on us. However, our healing is our responsibility. And there's a lot of nuance to that, and it takes a lot of self-reflection, and there's a lot of acceptance that comes with that. But it can also be a really empowering choice to recognize that we don't have to just, sit back and let our experiences dictate our future. We have a choice, right? And it takes work, but how cool that we have that choice. And so when you pose this question, I think about what it's like to ponder on that, right? Ponder on the power of choice, the power of sitting with yourself and recognizing, okay, if I'm in control of my healing and who I want to be in the future, what do I want that to look like? And therefore, what do I need to let go of?
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Okay, so now we're going to start looking forward.
Okay.
What do you want the feel of your life to be in 2026? I love this because often people focus on a specific goal, but not necessarily what do I want to feel? How do I want my life to feel? And I think that's one of the differences between goals and intentions, right? Goals can be more of like a checklist, outcomes, and intentions is more like guiding your energy and just being really intentional, striving towards things that you want to feel, that you want to achieve, how you want to be in your person. So any thoughts on that question of what do you want the feel of your life to be in 2026?
Yeah, I think it echoes back on a few conversations ago on you want to start kind of big picture and just reflect on, we were talking about what's not working, and then you just kind of, that can flow into, okay, what is the vision, right? What do we want it then to feel when things are working for you? What do you want your year to look like? And then just start planting roots that can then become ideas, that can then become goals that have, substance, as opposed to goals that we don't feel passionate about, or goals that we don't care about, or goals that we feel like we should put on ourselves, but we don't actually
even care about.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. When I think about this question, I don't know why, but the idea of the image of an athlete comes to mind, and how athletes talk about being in a flow state. Like I'm imagining like Venus and Serena Williams just like on the court, just doing their thing. Like this is what I was born to do. And when I think about what I want my life to feel like, it's like when did you feel most you? And in that state of flow, and how do we capture the essence of that and then, like you said, plant the seeds to make more of that happen. And that might be a really little seed that we plant, but it could really flourish and grow into something beautiful.
I am such a big fan of doing the tiniest thing and then just letting it build, to the point where I think sometimes my clients might think I'm going too small. They're like, you want me to do something for 2 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, I want you to do this for 2 minutes,
Because if you can do it for 2, you can do it to 4.
And you have 2 minutes. You cannot argue again. You have 2 minutes to do whatever the thing might be, and I want you to start. I love starting really small.
Start small.
Yeah, and then build. But let's build consistency here, right? Because that's a whole other layer to a conversation of 2026 or New Year resolutions, right? Is you start off really strong for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple months, and then it falls off, right? And maybe part of that, or the reason, is because your goals are not sustainable, right? So what we're striving for here is sustainability, consistency.
Yeah, let's start small.
Yeah, I'm riled up. But I just feel very passionate about starting small.
Beautiful. So this leads into our next prompt. Now that people have had time to reflect on what they want the feel of their life to be, is what personal value do you want to honor more intentionally next year? And I think, when you talk about 2 minutes, it's like, okay, honoring personal values feels really big, but maybe it's like I'm going to have one intentional screen-free dinner with my family this month. Like maybe it's that small that we start and then we build up.
It's so interesting. We say this, and it, even something like that sounds small, but I'm thinking, I think you and I have talked about this, in just casual conversation. The statistic was that couples with children on average speak to each other half an hour total in a week on average.
Yeah.
And this statistic is from a few years ago, so I don't know what the updated statistic is, but
we cannot confirm the source is true.
Right. But however, that's a pretty alarming statistic.
Alarming is the right word.
Right.
Yeah.
So we might think that this is a really small, shift, but it might not be as small as we think. You know what I mean? And especially when it comes to the home and the things that really matter to us, especially relationships too, I see this with couples all the time, right? There's the safety of, my partner, we think, right? There's the safety of my partner will always be there, right?
That's the couples therapist right there.
Yeah.
We think. You think they're always going to be there.
Because, we want to be intentional. We want to be mindful, but we can turn to my partner will always be there. So the relationship falls through the cracks, right? It falls to the back burner because life takes over. And it can be the relationship. It can be fun. It can be so many other things, right? The things that matter to us.
Yeah.
Even though they matter to us, they can still fall to the back burner if we're not careful.
And, giving that example of like talking to your partner when you have kids, it's so funny. My cousin and I were having a conversation this week about like bedtime, and we're both pretty strict and firm on bedtime and routine. And we were kind of reflecting, like, it's not really about, we need this routine, like the kid needs this routine. Yes, this child needs restorative sleep. That's great. It's good for development and all the things. But also, like, I want to hang out with my husband. I want to have some, like, conversation and just hang out a little bit because I'm exhausted. And so if my kid is staying up late, that means I'm putting them to bed and then I'm going straight to bed and then we don't get that much time together. That just doesn't work for me. And so it could be something as small as, okay, we're going to like really actually stick to our kids' bedtime and have intentional 30 minutes together each day, not once a week, right? And just start there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something important with this too, I think, is like, if you're going to set these intentions, I really want to encourage you to revisit them.
Yeah.
It's not a set it and forget it. So if you set a goal, if you have an intention, if there's a value that you've identified that you want to align with more clearly, there's a boundary that you want to uphold, I really encourage you to set time to reflect on it. You can do a scheduled send email to yourself and ask yourself the follow-up questions that you would want to ask. You could ask your therapist if you're in therapy, hey, can we reflect on this in X amount of time and see how it's going, because I'm probably going to forget, life is busy. Or however you and your family unit, like, do you do reviews, right? Do you sit, do you reflect every quarter or once a month? And really try and be intentional about revisiting this because that's how we learn, that's how we grow. We can tweak things along the way. Whatever you've identified today in your reflections, you can edit, you can alter, but you need to carve out the time to really do that. So just a little nudge, put something in place so that you can also hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, especially because if you have a vision for yourself, say for December of 2026, you're not going to get there in February of 2026. You're going to have to start small. Here I am, right? Like, you're going to have to start small. You're going to have to start somewhere, right? And then build your way to that. And so you want to be checking in with yourself. You want to be moving your goals, right? We change, we grow, things happen, life continues to happen. It's just unrealistic to set a goal for yourself in January of 2026 and expect it to flow the exact same way for the entirety of a year.
And let's be real, some people are going to listen to this and be like, no, Carolina, I'm not starting small.
Right.
I have this big goal and I'm doing it. I'm diving in.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's great.
But if you're going to do that, let's try and hold yourself accountable to also checking in on like how it's going.
Yeah.
Is this sustainable? Do we need to tweak it? Are you utilizing your supports to reach this goal and all the things?
Yeah. By all means, challenge yourself too. In a way that is still, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
Realistic?
Maybe
Sustainable.
realistic. Sustainable. All the above.
Because some people are hardcore.
They are.
Like they approach things like 100 miles an hour. And if that's you, please reflect on why and what it means for you to do these things this way. And if that's serving you, and then go from there. What is one meaningful goal for 2026 that aligns with who you are becoming?
Ooh. I like the flexibility of who you are becoming.
Who you're becoming. Yeah, I think this is rooted in intention and not pressure. Right? Like there's intention for me to go in this trajectory, not I have to have pressure to be this perfect way.
And the flexibility, or the flexibility of figuring out who you are becoming along the way as well, right? Can you repeat the question? I got so caught up in the last bit of it, and I really liked it. But tell me the first part.
What's one meaningful goal for 2026 that aligns with who you are becoming? And I want to emphasize this is a meaningful goal, not something that's just impressive. Going back to, on paper impressive.
What makes a goal meaningful?
I think for me, I would take from this that it will be aligned with me and my identity and how I want to show up versus an accomplishment at work.
Yeah.
That's what I would take from that.
And it's such an important distinction because, as we work with very real humans who are just trying to, again, figure themselves out, you see a lot of people who are just really wanting to get a clearer sense of their identity and who they are. And it's interesting, right? I'm thinking about that process and I'm thinking about how much of it is that flexibility of observing and finding out and just letting things unfold, and then also pairing that with intentionality and creating meaningful goals for yourself.
And being mindful of comparison, being mindful of perfectionism, and really just reflecting inward. So what kind of support or structure would help you stay grounded throughout the year? This, for me, screams village. Having a kid, everybody says, it takes a village. Remember, it takes a village. That can look like many things, and I don't think it only applies for parenthood. I think that in life, we all need social supports. We need people who are rooting for us, that are in our corner. That doesn't have to be 25 best friends, but a handful of people that you feel know you, they're rooting for you, you trust them, and they see you. That's what I take from this.
Yeah. I love that. Or even, being a part of something bigger than you, right? Belonging somewhere, finding the first thing that comes to mind is like a run club, just because that's been so up and coming over the last few years, right? And, or, finding some group that gets together. It doesn't have to be a run club, but some sort of activity,
a book club,
or some sort of hobby.
There's so many hobbies.
That can also hold you accountable to, okay, well, this is something that I enjoy doing, and this is a space where I get to do it with other people. Great, right?
Yeah, I love that. I think other examples can be therapy. Obviously, I'm going to mention therapy, journaling, planning check-ins with friends, support groups, like more formal support groups, or having more dedicated rest practices that you integrate into your lifestyle. And I think that can normalize too that needing support is not a weakness. It's actually a strength by utilizing support and modeling that to others too, I think is a strength.
Yeah. You don't have to do this life alone.
No, we're not designed to. We're not built for that. And we see that, you know, in our work as therapists when people are doing it alone for whatever reason, usually no fault of their own.
Yeah.
A big part of the work is that relationship building and that connectedness to hold space for somebody to be in it with them, because I think that's a very human need to feel seen and to experience life feeling like you have someone alongside you.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage people to think about, okay, what helped before, what wasn't helpful this year, and what do I need to integrate into 2026? Okay, so the final question feels very dramatic. How can you show yourself more grace while still pursuing growth in 2026?
I had this conversation today.
Really?
Yeah, because this is what we were talking about. When we don't accomplish a goal, right? When something doesn't work out the way we want to, we feel that. We feel the disappointment. We feel the pain, we feel the heartache, whatever it might be. We feel the sadness. It feels heavy, right? We get down. When we accomplish a goal, we're like, okay, cool. We don't have the same energy when we accomplish something as we do when we don't. And I mean, we could have a whole other, you know, episode on why that is, and, you know, how society's been designed that way and how it's really not our fault. But however, what a great opportunity to put it out there that we need to hype ourselves up a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, if we can have the same energy when we don't accomplish a goal, we can also show ourselves that kind of compassion when we do accomplish a goal.
Yes. I have room to still be growing. Yeah. I don't need to be this fully actualized, fully bloomed person.
Yeah.
So more grace, more hype. That's your takeaway.
Yeah.
More grace, more hype.
Absolutely. Because this is not, it's also not to make it, you know, completely rose colored. Like, you can be disappointed when something doesn't work out. You know, sometimes things you don't have the outcome that you hope for. And that's disappointing. It's not about not feeling that. It's about showing yourself that grace, learning from the experience, and you try again, whatever it might be.
And, you know, hearing us say, give yourself grace, give yourself grace, you know, take small steps. That doesn't mean we're not encouraging you to be disciplined, to have self-discipline, to be consistent, to create structure. Yeah. But let's do it without self-punishment. Let's do it that way, right? And you can still hold yourself accountable, have others that try and hold you accountable and showing up for yourself. But let's do it without the punishment, without that like edge of judgment or self-deprecating energy.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Love.
I think this also normalizes that setbacks, like we talked about, are just a part of growth. That's part of the journey. That's part of resilience. And when I think about, you know, mentors or people that I admire in the public eye, they have all been through some stuff. They have all had setbacks. And it's how they overcome it and their resilience that I think I admire most. And I try and remember that when I'm kind of owning up to my own shortcomings and noticing them and trying to reflect and be real with myself. Like, how could I have done that better? How could I have, you know, phrased things differently? And that takes a lot of humility. So, you know, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all a work in progress.
Yes. Okay. It keeps closing. One final thought on self-talk.
Okay.
There's nothing like, for me, there's been nothing like becoming the mother of a daughter to challenge my self-talk how I refer to myself, how I refer to my body. I am so conscious of it, and I wish I was more conscious of it before that. I think it's something I was aware of, but I think self-talk, it shapes how we view ourselves, and I think it can also shape progress, our perception of progress. So I just want to encourage everyone who's reflecting on how they talk to themselves internally, how they refer to other people, how they speak about themselves out loud, to really just get curious about what that looks like, and probably something to work through with a therapist, right? If there's if there is a lot to work on there. But yeah, let's just really be mindful of our self-talk as we think about our reflections and our goals and our planning for the year ahead, and managing our expectations of self too.
Yeah, I love it. And that maybe that can be one of the goals for 2026, is just be more mindful of how we talk to ourselves.
Yes.
Right? Again, this is one of those small changes, quote unquote, right? Seemingly small changes that can make a really big difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having this conversation and
Thank you for having me.
sitting through, these reflective questions and encouraging folks at home on how they can think about this year and everything they have accomplished, because it will have been a lot, whether they initially think that or not.
Yeah.
And what they might want 2026 to look like. As you move into 2026, please remember, you don't need to have everything figured out. Progress doesn't require perfection, and your goals matter most when they align with who you're becoming, not who you think that you should be. So thank you so much for joining Tea Talks with Monique Speaks. Carolina, thank you for being a fabulous guest, and I look forward to all of the next Tea Talks we have coming up next year.
Sounds good.